Solve by completing the square. X squared plus 2x equals 8. This is already in the form that's ready for completing the square. I'm going to rewrite this and leave a little bit of space for doing the completing the square. So on the left-hand side, to complete the square, we need to take the coefficient on the x, which is 2. We need to divide that by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then we need to square the result. 1 squared is 1. So we need to add 1 on both sides to complete the square here. Now that we've completed the square, we can factor the left-hand side. When we do that, we're going to end up with a binomial squared, because it's a perfect square trinomial. And the binomial that we get is x plus 1 squared. On the right-hand side, 8 plus 1 is 9. And now we're ready to apply the square root property. On the left-hand side, the square root of x plus 1 squared is just x plus 1. Taking the square root undoes the squaring. And on the right, we end up with plus or minus 3, because when we take the square root of 9, we get 3. So because 9 was a perfect square, we don't need to write a radical, because we can actually take the square root of 9. This is because when we take the square root of 9, we end up with 3. Good. So now to get x alone, we need to get rid of that 1. So we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. On the left, that leaves x alone. On the right, we've got that negative 1, and then plus or minus 3. And unlike the previous problems, we don't actually want to stop here, because negative 1 and 3, or negative 3, are like terms. So we can actually combine them. But we have to do it separately. And what I mean by that is we have to look at the two situations, x equals negative 1 plus 3, and x equals negative 1 minus 3, separately, because we get different answers if we take positive 3 or negative 3. But once we split them up, we can combine like terms to simplify. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2, so our first solution is x equals 2. And then the second one, negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. So the second solution here is x equals negative 4. And so our final answer is going to be x equals 2, or x equals negative 4. Again, when we have a situation where the two terms separated by the plus or minus are both integers, or even if they were both just fractions, so long as there's no square root, we can actually combine them. And so we want to do that, but we need to split the two situations up, the one with the plus and the one with the minus, before we can actually go through the process of combining those like terms.